Hi guys, this is Amanda and this is my visual component for the final project for Humanities 371, and I'm going to be talking about a concept called contents tourism and how it relates to Japanese anime. Now a little background about Japanese anime. It's a booming business for about the fourth year in a row. It has hit the roughly the $18 billion mark, and it is a domestic and global product. So it's big in Japan and it's getting bigger everywhere else. And this term, this concept of contents tourism is the idea that people are traveling to Japan to experience these connections to anime and to fandom in Japan where it has begun with the anime. And this is important because it's driving tourism on the basis of intellectual properties. That is, things that may not necessarily be physical or existing in real life. And Japan is capitalizing on this. As you can see in this area, this is in Tokyo in an area called Akihabara, and it is known as one of the major anime meccas throughout Japan. There are these massive buildings that are just covered from head to toe in advertisements for the stores that are inside and for anime and games and manga or graphic novels that are all very big at the moment, and every single one of them is competing for your time because there's just you could spend your entire life going through these stores and looking at the collectibles that are available, the DVDs, the CDs, the costumes, the performances. These are all things that are built around this fandom community that really is its own economic entity in Japan in particular. And I wanted to speak on this concept of contents tourism because I got to actually experience it for myself. I went to Japan. These are all pictures taken during my trip in late September of 2018. And I went because I am a fan of anime, and my love of anime led me to learning about the language, learning the language, getting more interested in the culture. And when I had the opportunity to go there with a friend and have this experience, it was really significant for me and really brought home this idea that anime or that fandom is generating its own form of tourism, at the very least in Japan. And I think the highlight of my trip is what I like to call the pilgrimage. One of my favorite anime is a title called Chihaya Furu, which has two seasons currently and a third coming in the spring of 2019. And it is located at this shrine, which is a real shrine in Japan. It's just east of Kyoto, which is located in south central Japan in a prefecture called Otsu. And this is a torii gate, which is an indication of entry or exit into a Japanese Shinto shrine, which is different from a temple, which is Buddhist in nature. So Omijingu is this real place that is a central focus within the context of the anime. And at one point, one of the characters asks, "Well, what is this place like? How would you describe it?" And the word that the other character uses is red. for for obvious reasons. It is this bright red shrine. It is very, very eye-catching, and it's sitting in the middle of these well taken care of trees, and everything is just, it's both old and so pristinely kept that there is this really wonderful juxtaposition between the transition from nature into this very organized set of religious buildings and then outbuildings. So this shrine is not one of the larger shrines, but it is known for this sport in real life called karuta, which is actually a competitive card game based on 100 of the most notable poets in Japanese history. So the game is called, or the poets are known as the Hyakunen Isshu, which is 100 poets, and the card game is karuta. And there are 100 poems. Only 50 are ever in play at one time, and each player begins with 25 each, and the goal is to take as many as you can, and the first person to 15 cards wins, or 15 wins from the opposing player, I should say. And this is all just a part of what got me here. So, this contents tourism, my love and my interest in this anime brought me to this location, and I ended up getting more than I bargained for, which in this case was a very positive thing. So, there again, there is a poster of the shrine itself overlaid with images of the Karuta cards. And that's what the cards actually look like. They're a little bit smaller than what we consider to be playing cards or trump cards. And they are a different consistency. They're a little bit harder. And I think that's because they're meant to be kind of slapped around on these mats in an aggressive way of trying to take the card um, from your from the other competitor. And so getting to walk around immediately um, on the shrine's windows are posters of the anime, the films that they've been making related to the anime. So there have been some adaptations along the way because it has grown to be a very well loved entertainment in Japan. And with another season coming in spring of 2019, the excitement is beginning to build again. And I think the Shrine knew to take advantage of that. And certainly they got to benefit off of that from me because I was there for this reason. But while I was there, I also got to learn that this shrine is also known for its preservation of clocks or timepieces, traditional Japanese timepieces, and they actually had their own small museum dedicated to these pieces from eras dating back in Japan several hundred years. And unfortunately, there weren't any cameras allowed in that area because they were so old. But in going here for a specific purpose to sort of serve as this pilgrimage or this homage to an anime and a fandom that I really enjoy, I ended up learning more about the culture of the shrine and the depth of the shrine beyond this thing that is a fictional entity. And I got to be in this physical space and really get to appreciate its beauty and the nuances that were there. This is actually a wood block that the shrine sells to people, and what you would do is you write a prayer or a wish on the block, and they all get hung up in an area. And during certain times of the year, the blocks will all be burned in a ceremony, and that is when your wish or your prayer travels to heaven. So, this particular block is showing a depiction of what Karate game might have looked like in Imperial Japan with ladies of the royal court playing the game. And the depth of this shrine was a massive space. Again, not one of the larger shrines that I went to on this trip, but just so beautiful, so well maintained. And we hadn't even gotten to the area where the actual sport was yet. This is just really the area where the players would go to dedicate their game, to pay respect to this shrine that really is in charge of maintaining this karuta culture. And these are traditional woodblock karuta cards that may have been used during historical Japanese karuta games, particularly among the nobility and the Japanese aristocracy. So there's half, and there is the other half. And these are, of course, recorded in Japanese calligraphy. So not only are they filled with poetry, but the method of writing itself is an art. So it was considerably less competitive, historically speaking, than it is in modern day, but no less something to appreciate while we were learning about the depth of the sport. So these are more traditional modern karuta cards. And again, there's half there and another half there with the full poem on one side of the card and half of the poem on the other, which allows the reader to begin reading the poem and the players to react by claiming the card based on what is in the second verse of the poem. A little bit complicated, I won't go into it too much, but in essence, there are players and there are readers, and the players are reacting to how the readers are performing these poems from the 100 poets. Now, one of the images that is redundant or repetitive, I should say, throughout the course of the anime, through the series, is this image of red maple leaves, Japanese maple. And so getting to see these Japanese maple leaves that were beginning to turn colors on site at the shrine was a really special experience for me, because it was like nature itself was contributing to the experience and really just providing that extra emotional oomph, shall we say, to the journey. And over here is the outbuilding where the actual sport is, where it's played in local, regional, and national competitions. And as you go inside, right there, the care and the appreciation for the fans of the show is front and center. There were cardboard cutouts of the characters, some of the main characters all throughout the facility, and photographs of what a traditional match might look like, how the players are reacting, the area around the players, as well as what it may have looked like in historical Japan as well. And a close-up card of the competitive karuta card. You can see all of the kanji and the Japanese hiragana, and that is to help with the pronunciation of the more difficult kanji or characters being read. And the game is played on tatami mats, and this is an example of how players may have organized their cards in play against one another. And another of the characters, oh, there's another couple. And throughout this experience, what was really amazing was the fact that the location itself, I could actually see in my mind's eye scenes from the anime being reenacted, because the animation had been so true to the physical location, to the real location, that down to the color of the furniture and where the corners and the stairs were, I actually knew where I was going despite never having been there before. And that was a really cool experience, just being able to look around and see characters and hear conversations and really just immerse me in these memories of the series that I love so much, and being able to be there myself in a physical space and get to feel that appreciation for the animators' willingness to make the experience that much more authentic for the viewers, for the readers, and for the people like me who physically went to this place and were looking to find an additional connection. So you can see some of the characters standing around, and any place where there was wood, you had to take off your shoes in order to walk on it, but anywhere where there was tile, you could walk with your shoes. And these are the rooms, the large rooms, where the national tournaments and the tournaments for the Master and the Queen, who are the two top players in all of Japan, play every year. And again, just seeing this space and getting to smell the tatami mats and feel the humid air, because this is a building that doesn't have AC, really just getting to experience what characters in the show experienced at one time or another was overwhelming in the best possible of ways. And so even when it started raining, when my friend and I were ready to leave, it really couldn't put a downer on how positive the experience had been. And it really just made me want to seek out other locations and to have that experience with other areas that had inspired anime. And so it made me kind of hooked on being a contents tourist, because I wanted to go and have more experiences like this one. So unfortunately, all good things have to come to an end, and this was a goodbye to both the shrine and the outbuilding where the karuta was played. And just like the torii gates that I got to cross under going into the shrine, there was another set to say goodbye. And so with that, I want to say thank you for listening to my presentation on contents tourism and what it can be like for people who engage in it, particularly in Japan. And if you have any questions about traveling to Japan, I'd be happy to answer them. But for now, this is sayonara and happy holidays.